And we're rolling.
All right. Let me just start the slideshow. So, hi, I'm Nancy. And this is my talk, which will eventually come up on, there we go. It's like one random insecure web application, please. And now I'm like, some sort of ringing? Okay. So, like you're ordering food, and I just abbreviated it, ORIWAP. So background on why I came up with this. And y'all are going to get more background about me personally than I've ever said in a talk, because it went back to something I was interested in when I was 18. Well, I teach secure coding a lot, I'll just say. So I started out just teaching a group of Java developers who did these gigantic monolithic apps. But then I started adding in people who did microservices and Node.js, and then DevOps Python people, and then data scientists, and then some people who did, like, programming on AS400s were added in. So, like, masses of all these different groups of people doing all sorts of different coding in different languages, and different things were relevant to them. So, I mean, originally I just sort of started when I was just doing Java developers, creating my own app to sort of show them in Java, this is how you need to code it correctly, this is how you can do it, this is incorrect, this is correct, etc. So, but as I started doing all these, I needed new example applications regularly, and maybe you could use some of them to show people, you could use some of the same ones tweaked to show people different areas. They at least needed to look at different types of vulnerabilities as a regular view. And a lot of times people like to see things in their native languages or things they're more familiar with. Was certainly something that came up. Good. So, what happened was I started, to do examples, I started changing stuff back and forth in some existing applications I created. So, yeah, turning something on, turning it off, tweaking it to show data scientists one thing, and I don't know if any of you deal with data scientists. They are the worst at writing secure code, in my opinion. But yes, so yeah, you turn things back and forth depending on how well developed they are, and then also you want to start changing things. So I decided it was boring to change the code all the time, so I started just putting in some Boolean flags to turn some stuff on and off. That was sort of how this whole idea got started. Was I can just sort of do that. And then I started customizing the themes, because if you're teaching the same people, like they have a yearly requirement, my first one was, I think, I did Overpoweringly Cute Cats, the vulnerable web application, which was for sharing cute cat photos. Of course, you had your own private cute cat photo that you could keep hidden, and other things like that, and there were admin stuff, all that fun stuff. That was my first one. But people get bored of seeing my cute cats every year. So, I don't understand that one myself, but so I started customizing the themes a bit, and I started trying to do that in a way that it was programmable, or so that it was really easy to change out and you didn't have to go in and change lots of code. So then I just thought, well, why can't I randomly use this base application and start selecting data and options, or several base applications is the hope, because eventually, but yes. And the reason most people would probably say, so randomly putting Boolean flags on and off, easy, obviously, but randomly generating a whole web application with data, users, and like, as I said, like for Overpoweringly Cute Cats, cat photos and things like that, that gets a little more complicated for some people to think about, as well as comments and all sorts of language. But luckily for me, I love natural language understanding. That was what I was originally into when I was 18, 19. So I actually was just like, this is going to combine what I used to love before I got into security with what I love now, because I get to do some natural language generation. Yeah, and if you really want to know, back when I was in college, yeah, I wanted to actually get a PhD. That was my original plan, was to get a PhD at MIT studying artificial intelligence. I wanted to work with Marvin Minsky. That shows how old I was. I am a bit, since he's now dead. He was alive then and working. Yes, and I actually did a senior project that was like a chat bot that was to enter in the Loebner Prize contest. I don't know if that still goes on. But, that was an instantiation of the Turing test. Can machines think? So it was like supposed to be like that. So I had a lot of fun with natural language. And in grad school, even I worked for 2 linguists who were working on morphologies, and so for ancient languages. And so I wrote this Perl code that compiled languages into Prolog. Really crazy. But it would generate complete verb morphologies in ancient Sanskrit and biblical Hebrew. So this is all my background, which is why I thought I could do this. And I even took some shortcuts doing it because there's actually a lot to generating language. So, all right. So now let's talk a little bit about the design for the random generation. So I had never coded in Node.js before, so I decided to try it. I was just like, that's something I haven't done. I'll write this in Node.js, give it a shot. Obviously, what that means is, since that's not a compiled language, I'll just go ahead and do the warning that occasionally, if a random path hasn't actually happened yet, I could still get errors that I don't know about in the code. That's a warning for the demo coming up. But I have 3 randomly generated web applications already deployed on my thing if it completely fails, or we can just try again. Okay, so, and the process is slightly, there are a few manual steps to it. You generate the files. I'm hoping to get it completely automated in the next 2 weeks, actually. I'm planning on making some updates. But yes, we had so much, everyone always has so much going on, but our son actually had a broken leg. It was in this horrible spica cast for 6 weeks very recently and just got out, and so that did delay me on getting a few last-minute things done. If anyone's ever seen a spica cast, they're evil, horrible. You don't want to take care of children in them. Okay. But somewhat manual process still. But we will generate the random files. We'll copy them into where they go in the base application, compile, and deploy. So it's not that hard, but we'll be at it better automated. Okay, so now we'll do a demo, and the steps for the demo are on the next slide, which we'll go over afterwards. And we'll also look at a couple of the other applications just so you can see the differences. All right. Is that going to come back? All right. Just so you all can see it. All right. So yes, it's just a very simple thing. You just tell it a location to put the files at moment as a get parameter, and it will generate something for you. And let me clear out that directory that I'm going to tell it to put the files in, so you know that that I didn't just, it's just this, so everyone knows that it actually generated them, and also in case there are any errors, it'll be obvious. So should be running my server, and I have a okay, I did a very dangerous thing. I tweaked the code last night, and I still had a breakpoint in there. That was really, I didn't like the way something looked when I was practicing my demo, so I tweaked the code last night. But it looks like it generated files. Although I have 2 sets of files here, which I don't like. I definitely do have 2 sets of files there. I'm going to try this one more time and see if, because there were 2 sets of images. Let's run. So it seems to be generating a lot of things about cats today. I do have cat stuff in there, but it's really sort of strange. I almost wonder if the random number generation is leaning towards cats for some reason. But that's fine. Let's see if we got a good files looking. Okay. That should work. All right. So I'm just going to copy the files where they go. I should have that open somewhere. Not there. No. This one? Well, okay. I don't have the location I want open, but one sec. It's actually probably over here. Yeah. Here. Perfect. So this is a copy of the base app. So I'm just first copying the POM file, then the one Java file, which is an app constants. It generated some SQL files, which will put data in the databases. There's an embedded database in this. I have a lot of things I'd love to add to it that I haven't. There's a ton of data involved, I'll just go and say. But let's see. So, constants. Here. So, that one. Then the database files. So they're here. In fact, I'm doing this talk again in 2 weeks. I hope to have this piece automated by then. Let's see. Because it would be easier. And it's really not that hard. And the fact that it isn't hard is why I put it off to the end. If you know what I mean, because it's just copying the files to a specific location. That's really quite easy. And so I put it off to the end and never got it done. Because I kept wanting to improve the other output. So, okay, so that's the SQL files, the constants. There's a CSS file, and then there's some images. So source main, web app, resource. Okay, so, and then the images will go here, and that's it. And we'll see what it looks like, and etc. I have a feeling that doesn't look right, but yeah. It's a very strange file right here. Probably there's a broken image going to happen, but we'll try it anyway, see what happens. So. And as I said, I have 3 others already up and deployed. So compile Maven clean package, because it's, you all saw the POM file, obviously it's using Maven. Build success, so good. Just grab the WAR and deploy it real quick. Yeah. That's it. An amazing cute cats one is what was generated. Okay. And I'll talk about how it decides on topics later. I mean, obviously I'm using random number generators. That's pretty obvious. So here we go. Alright, so something that works. Yes, it randomly chose Geo Bootstrap. I love that. It's one of 12 bootstraps available. That's my favorite thing Twitter ever did, was this bootstrap. Anyone else? No. So, but yes, so it gives you a website. Yes, it's supposed to look like the 80s. Create account, sign in, password help, about us. Let's see what happened with the about us. So in 2002, Michael Davis founded Amazing Cute Cats. Oh, I see a null. This is no good. We have an error that I haven't quite fixed, but Michael accompanied his half-sister, Ella Davis, the well-known archaeologist, on one of her trips to China when he was 14, and on that he rescued cute cats facing starvation by societal negligence. This spurred his love of archaeology and of cats, obviously. Okay, I don't know why we have null there, but obviously there are a couple things to point out. The website is to connect everyone who loves or wants to discover amazing cute cats. So yes, that's an example of the natural language generation, which is not horrible, but could use a little help. I got robots facing starvation the other day, which, that one, I like them to be really funny, if possible. Like, if they're way out there, I like that. Something like, this is not likely to actually be true. I like that when it generates stories, background stories like that. But, see, a secret. We'll go with I love aliens. Okay. But I don't want them to be absolutely, completely horrible, so let's just take a look and see what people are posting about amazing cute cats. Hello and welcome. So yeah, it generated this content. That's my cat Constantine reading Social Engineering. That's the book on, that is Chris Hadnagy's book on social engineering that cat is reading. Just since I know no one can see it, I thought I'd share. So, welcome to my awesome site on cute cats, blasting off with Constantine reading the social engineering book. Enjoy. Do we have comments? No. But, yeah, so I mean, it generated content, and there's going to be a lot of security ooh, it came up with a random admin. That's interesting. Need opinions. What do you all think? Luna76. I'm attached to that pic. So, yes, it did come up with comments. Okay. So, it generated some sites. Let's see. Here's another site that was generated. I don't know. It's been generating cats a lot. I might want to check my topic generation, because this one I did last night. As you see, it looks totally different in terms of just look and feel. And obviously, one could start looking at cookies. Oh, see, for example, this one has a username cookie called test, which obviously immediately tells us something in a permissions cookie. That one. What about this one over here? Oh, and there's this manage button up here. Ooh, that looks like, that could be, probably shouldn't be there. It doesn't give me anything, but I have a link to a hidden management page, something that should be hidden. So, yes. So I said, a lot of this is, it's going to be very insecure due to some reasons I'm going to say. Here's another look, and as I said, unfortunately, everything I was generating was about cats, which is only one of, like, a dozen topics I set up to be in there. Which is so funny that it randomly chose that 3 times recently. It may be. Yes, that could be it. It knows that. So, but obviously the looks at least can be quite different, and even the URLs, and so, and there will be other things that are, if you started going through it, there'd be some very, like with Burp Suite or something, there'd be some very obvious security things. This one has some client-side validation, it looks like, yeah. Password checker. So, fun. Anyway. So, I think that's just a basic, that's how the demo works. Let's go back to the slideshow, and we can talk a bit more about design and such. Here we go. One moment. And I'm going to grab a sip of coffee while that's warming up. That really does take a while, doesn't it? Alright. So, these are the steps we had to do really quick. Well, I left off download the base web application, which is on GitHub and publicly available, so that's easy. But then you generate the files, and you copy the POM to the main, the app constants to source main Java.com security magic, the DB files to source main resources DB, and I'm just doing this really quick because that's what we just did. Copy bootstrap.css to the source main web app core CSS, copy all the image files, source main web app core images, compile Maven clean package, deploy, copy the Tomcat directory. So that's what we just did. So now let's discuss some of the options and oddities, and might go back and look at one of the sites to see some of the stuff in a few minutes. But the first thing is, it's more likely to be very insecure than anything else, and this is just because of the way the options are. I have so many options for different ways things can be insecure, and generally only one way for it to be secure. So, for example, if I look at the CSRF protection, I have 3 different Boolean options. One that turns it on and off in general. One that chooses whether I generate a good random token. One that chooses whether I use a synchronizer token or a different implementation, which is similar to the double cookie defense. Is that I always mix up that one, the double SMIT cookie. You know, the one where you have the cookie and the header, and it checks them. You know what I mean. I can't remember the exact term for that. Anyone? No? Okay. Something similar to that. What? Yeah. But something like that. And so you have these 3 different Boolean options turning things on, and that gives you, obviously, 8 possibilities. And so 7 of them are going to be insecure, and only 1's going to be secure. So what happens is you're much more likely to have something that's very insecure, because this is one where you have, 3 options. Some of the things like forgot password has 8 options going on in it to do it correctly secure. So unless you go through and actually make some selections, you know, change things up, you might be so insecure that it's hilariously funny as opposed to challenging. So that's just a note. And then, so this is just like what are some of the security options in general that these are all currently there. There's a lot more I'd love to add. But obviously there's some SQL injection examples. These are individual, like is there SQL injection in this field or not, on off. And fortunately SQL injection can be really annoying actually. At least, unless it's at least somewhat covered up, I find it really annoying if any time you type the right character, you get an error. That's just annoying. So as a general rule, I think it's actually minimal. I only have 4 spots I have possible SQL injection at all because I just find it annoying, although you do want the example. There are examples of all types of cross-site scripting, including the DOM one, which you don't see that a lot in applications. In fact, it was really sort of hard to contrive an example for it, and I actually had to output encode to keep it from being a stored one. I had to use output encoding on the web page at that spot. It was, to be honest, it was like in the language and choices I was making, it seemed like it was actually, I did have to contrive getting a document object model one out there, but there is one. Obviously things like user enumeration turn off, CSRF, forgot password, which has its massive 8 options. There's some stuff going on in registration. There's file uploads, failure to restrict URL access, some encryption and hashing options, all the normal things you probably want to teach programmers if you're teaching that sort of thing. And they can also be fun to play with. So I have prototypes for some services for adding in, but I haven't quite figured out how to do that. So yes, I'm prototyping some other things like for some microservice stuff. To add in like a service for something, and also, oh yes, I'm trying out something with NoSQL data, with an embedded NoSQL database, which should be fun, but I don't have it ready yet to put in here. So, sorry, but hopefully those will be in soon, is my plan. And yes, I expect you'll see lots of. I'll probably be updating this a lot between now and September, when I think I start teaching code again this year. So I plan on making some changes so I can use it for that. But then there's some wet settings that just don't work well together, like in forgot password, since there was the 2 main modes where you have a side channel and where you don't. And it doesn't actually send you an email. I have a pretend email that it shows you in a modal. Because, well, you don't want to give an insecure fake app a real email address and have it sending mail. That doesn't work. So it sends you a pretend email when it turns on a side channel. But some of the options were just sort of they turned out sort of hilarious together, I will say. Because, for example, if you have no side channel, but then you turned off on the side channel, you don't need to answer the secret question, then it's just like, you can enter anyone and reset the email. You never want that to show up. I mean, that's just too ridiculous, I thought. So I turned off those and made some exclusive options. These occasionally show up, and then one has to fix the code. So you have things that are exclusive instead of inclusive in your ORing. But, there are, let's see, it was 47 Boolean security options right now that turn on and off. I think it is. And then there's other things that are semi-security related, like some of the cookies and encodings and things like that, which you can say some of that is, but that's different. but it's not exactly that. Then there's, in the look and feel, this was actually the easiest to do because, to be example, I just used 12 different Bootstrap themes and did a random choice from 1 to 12, throw that file out there. So that was really easy. And then, of course, you randomly choose a font color. Now, I chose a whole bunch of bright colors that would look good on white or black, so font size, glyphicons, Bootstrap column layouts, since they're all based on Bootstrap. So, it'll choose different column layouts, forms, labels, menus. The data, this is where it's interesting. This was the interesting thing. There's, of course, simple data and complex data. The simple data was generating a username or a password. I'm sure everyone can figure out how to do that, although I will briefly tell you what I did. The complex data is actually generating, the About Us page or something like that. So, first, what are the simple datas? And I have a slide that says that in a minute, but I was going to say that I think there are over 81 different types of data I'm using in this. So I'm probably not listing everything, but the usernames are certainly an easy choice, and there are 2 different ways it does usernames. One of them is based on topic. So if you have a topic like Greek temples or something, you might end up with usernames like I love the Parthenon, because it chooses something based on that. Or you could always have usernames that are like name-based, like John76. Passwords, very easy. I started with one of the smaller Rockulus. Smaller because I didn't want that. The Rockulus is gigantic. So I didn't want to be dealing with that. I started with a smaller Rockulus. I added a couple stronger passwords to it for a little variety. And then there's a chance that it might add a special character capitalization to the password it selects. Pretty easy. I think that's a 1 in 5 chance. So, to be honest, yes, most of them are very brute forceable. We'll go with. Then there's a secret or a favorite that are generally asked for registration, like maybe your favorite zoo baby or a secret about, that's your secret answer sort of thing. Now the secrets actually are a bit what I do with posts because there's a way to make them related to the topic. Same with for favorite, whatever, as I said, Greek temple, it knows what some Greek temples are because you told it. You have to tell it, or you can give it access to Google. I considered that, but I was a little afraid to let it pick out images from Google because of, who knows what you're going to get. It could be adult content. I didn't want to do that for anything I was showing. You could end up with, I think that there are ways you can tell it never to give you adult content, but it could be wrong. Who knows? So, I was thinking of making that an option where it could pick things out of the internet too, but I was a little afraid of that, especially for demo purposes. So, whether or not it has an extra admin. Now, the person who created the site, it always creates somebody who's the person who created the site. They're always an admin. And there's always some admin functionality. But yes, but does it have an extra admin? Like the URLs, because if you actually go through those, you'll see they're not all, it's not always login to the login page or forgot password. It actually changes up the URLs for you, so you have different sites. The verbiages change, for basic things like no such user, or that sort of error, just basic error message verbiage. And as I say, cookie names change, although that's possibly security related too. But I think it was just more simple data. So that's the simple data, I think. So the complex data. The first thing is the topic, and obviously the random number generators were being not too random here recently, but so it was obviously you have to be a little bit creative in how to generate this. So there's a main topic, which is obviously, they're not all cats, I promise. This is supposed to be hard, but yes, cats is one of them. But yes, there's a main topic, and I think I have about a dozen main topics that it can choose from. And then there's a possibility it uses a secondary topic, which will, make that more focused, like it might be robots, or it could be, the secondary topic might be, make it robots from Doctor Who. That sort of thing. And then there's a possible modifier added to that, which gives you the title of the site. The modifier is, of course, when it becomes amazing robots from Doctor Who, or that sort of thing. So that's how it does, uses basically 3 sets of lists for that. And will generate a topic, and that topic is necessary for generating all the content, because otherwise you don't know what you're supposed to be writing about, or what you're having images of, or what type of page you have. And I'd love to have different types of pages too. It's a future project to add some more different things. Then like posts or blog information or things like that. Now that is where you start needing real natural language. And so I was just like, so you needed some shortcuts. You couldn't actually, where I remember writing some great code a long time ago that did syntax and semantics and parsing of grammars and would do all this stuff. It was complex, and it was just like, yes, I don't think that's really what you need, because no one's really here for the topic, for the content. So, who remembers Mad Libs? Yes. For anyone who doesn't, I found some in the French Quarter last night, so you need to try them out. Come get a Mad Lib after this. Do it with a friend at the happy hour tonight. Or make a new friend. But yes, for those of you who are not familiar with Mad Libs, yes, you have these great things where they say, give a first name, an adjective, a place, a verb, plural noun, and it fills in something. That's sort of what I did with the posts, except it wasn't quite as general as that. Some of them were put in the topic of the site, the base topic, singular, put in a description of the photo. Some of them were put in adjective, put in, that sort of thing, but yes. But that's sort of how we did the posts, was Mad Libs. And the comments were similar. There's also some formatting on how each user talks, which is decided when it creates the user, whether they are the type of person who's all lowercase. Do they use punctuation? Maybe they don't. Maybe we remove that. It does a lot of fun formatting around that to try to make the people a little different. You could obviously do a lot more with that if you wanted it to be really creative, but I figure that's not really the purpose. I just wanted it to be a touch different. Let's see. How am I doing on time? 11:33. Good. Plenty of time. So, then there's the About Us page and the Founder. And I'm going to go back to something else I remember I didn't mention about the posts, but let me talk about this first. So that's actually that was actually probably the hardest part, was to come up with background stories for the thing. That was actually probably this part where you needed things to sort of sync up and make sense. Like it was about so they have a background story that makes sense about the topic. And there are a couple different types. In fact, actually, we only looked at one. Let's see if I have a different type up here, actually. Because, let's see. Temple Cats for Peace and Light. This should have a different one. Count Home. Up here. So, About Us. So, in 2001, Hazel Potter founded Temple Cats for Light and Peace. Hazel had suffered from depression at a young age and started the site to help other sufferers through common interest in cats. Hazel's depression was so bad that at the age of 11 she couldn't get out of bed. Space issue. Fix that later. Finally, she discovered Light and Peace through temple cats and studying archaeology. Who knows why that's done in there? Hazel advises taking things one day at a time. And this is to connect everyone who wants to discover Temple Cats for Light and Peace. So this means this one got tagged as a self-help website. The For Light and Peace is what told me that it got tagged as self-help. So it has that sort of thing. That one actually sort of hangs together fairly well, except for the archaeology, which is a random bit of information. Okay. But yeah, so like you have a background story. The one we looked at earlier, what was it? They were helping to fight the negligence of stray cats who were starving to death. Yes, something like that. So you see they have different background stories. She's suffering depression. They're fighting the starving cat negligence. So you have these. So yeah, there's different base ones. There's the based on the topic, if the topic is something that could be applied to self-help, like Temple Cats for Light and Peace, Zoo Babies for Soothing Stress Relief, or something like that, or it might even be monsters from Doctor Who, I think, might show up as one of these. It depends on how it is, but if it's the sort of thing that could be applied to this, then it might come up as a self-help like this, where it's something where somebody's suffering from depression, insomnia, agoraphobia, and they're using this topic to cure themselves, supposedly. I don't recommend this to actually cure any of those things. So, let me go back to the slideshow, though there's not much left. But then there's the type where somebody's trying to do something that's that they're trying to fix a problem, like help stop the poachers of the white rhino, help the cats facing starvation. I got robots facing starvation once. I wasn't sure whether I should fix that so it never happens, or if it was just funny and I should keep it. I hadn't decided yet, but we'll see. And obviously, as I said, I was thinking of getting some images from Google, but was afraid to do that. So at the moment, obviously, you have different images that could easily fit in lots of different topics, and there was a method of I only want to store them once, how do I tag them properly so in a way I can easily find out what goes to what. That was actually one of the tougher issues, was you might have a picture of, let's say, the Minotaur episode of Doctor Who. You might have that. It would apply to Doctor Who monsters. It would apply to Greek monsters, Roman monsters, and monsters. 4 topics. Okay? So you want it to be tagged for all of those. You only want to store it once somewhere in a way that you can find it located for monsters. And I ended up just setting up directories for all topics with secondaries and using symbolic links, so I only had to store them once, which is a bit of a mess setting up. And maybe it's not the best way, but I didn't want to store it 4 times. That is what I definitely didn't want to do. I suppose I could have an index somewhere that knows which ones apply to which, a database. I wasn't sure. That was actually one of the things I had serious issues figuring out how to do that one properly. But as I said, so the founders, they have either the self-help, they were trying to fix a societal cause, or this is just my hobby and I'm sharing it with you. So 3 types of founders that it generates different stories based on. And total, not counting CSS and images, I have 81 different types of data that I'm loading into this. So that's a lot of different types of data. And obviously, I have a lot of improvements I'm still trying to work on. More data, obviously, is something I want to do. And I want to automate it. As I said, I'm hoping to get the automation done so it'll at least automatically copy the files over and do the compile for you. That should be easy enough to do in the next 2 weeks before I do this talk again at Circle City Con. And then basically besides that, I'm just generating a lot of them and tweaking the problems I see that come up, as well as I want to add a few more security features. As I mentioned, I'm working on a couple, the NoSQL embedded databases and adding in a microservice thing are the 2 I'm currently working on in terms of security things. And I have code that works. I just have to import it into the base app. I have, similar code working for those things. So, tweaking problems, and let's see. So I may have been talking a little fast, but here's my contact information. That's where the base app is. I didn't put a link to, I need to make it non-private. I've been tweaking the random generator so much I have it private, but it's also in my GitHub. And I just need to mark the thing to make the repo public, which I will do. I've just been tweaking it so much I didn't want people looking at it, if you know what I mean, which is really silly. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which is really bad when you're sharing things. If you want, anyone can relate to that. But does anyone have any questions? Yes. I thought about that, because I did that with at least one of when I was tweaking, as I said, I do this I did for my advanced group, I actually set up a CTF with flags, and I was thinking I could set that up to do, to create like 10, just set it up so it's an option you could do it to make 10 flags or something, as opposed to, so you only put 10 vulnerabilities in and have 10 flags or something like that, or a number you say, or a specific set. I was thinking about doing that because I've done the tweaking, like the modifying one of my apps to do it. So it would be not too hard to then look at what I did and put it in here, but it's not one of my immediate goals, but maybe I could see myself doing it before September, which is when I teach next time again. So I actually probably will get actual work time in August where I can work on this because I'll be working on what I'm teaching. So that'll be good. But yes, I love that idea, and I think I will put it on my list of things I definitely want to do. Anyone else? Yes?
So all the options that you have to set, generate the random applications, all that is set. So there's kind of like interface that you can
So the options are actually, they're mostly, you could completely change them out without changing the source code because they're actually all in outside data. And yes, it would be, it would probably be good to put up a nice interface so someone could actually just select from them. But yeah, they're all actually, so you could, outside data, some of them are text files, like the username and password lists are like that, so you could add to them if you wanted to have different subsets and that sort of thing. So it's all just data, and none of it's actually in the source code, the options. So, and it would be really easy to set that up. It's just, as I said, it's the easy things I skipped. But yes, I really should do that. I was planning on doing that. Thank you. I'll try to get it done. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and if anyone wants any Mad Libs to play with, please. I think it would make the conference more fun. No one?